Australia are going to kick us off. And the expectations, as ever, high amongst the Socceroos faithful who travelled here in huge numbers. 10,000 of them in the stands here this evening. Mohamed Toure gets Australia's 7th World Cup finals campaign underway. A very even group on paper with the United States and Paraguay to come. Can they get off to a good start today? They're looking to go on the attack right from the off, deep inside the Turkish half of the field, but it's going to go out for a Turkey throw in. Andy Harper.
Yeah, Australia playing for territory early. Pretty standard nowadays in football. The long ball, try and win the second effort up front and then keep your opponents pressed into their own defensive area as they look to play out. Turkey with the free kick now, just approaching halfway. So Australia's early bluster, a little bit of an opening there for Jacob Italiano, but Turkey have seen away the initial thrust.
This first half on SEN for Valvoline, the original engine oil and official supporter of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Turkey are in possession just inside their own half to the left of the centre circle with their captain Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Plays it back towards Maria Demiral and they will inch forward towards halfway. Sometimes opening matches, Andy, can be a little bit cagey, particularly in the first 10 or 15 minutes.
I think that's certainly the case. That's our experience. But the way, a part of the selection for the Socceroos, I think, is to bring that extra bit of youth and energy to really try and pin Turkey down. They've managed to win some nice possession. Connor Metcalf breaking down the right-hand side.
And he's managed to shake off Çalhanoğlu, and it was an awkward cross to deal with. But deal with it Turkey did for the moment, and they've got it away to safety, but only as far as Cherkati. Now Jacob Italiano on the right, looking to cross into the penalty area, and it did drop kindly for Nestor Iankunda, who gets a second bite at the cherry. But eventually Turkey sorted out and will now look to launch a counter of their own. You can hear the roar in the throats of thousands of Turkish supporters who you had the pleasure, I think it was the pleasure, Andy, of accompanying on your way into the stadium.
Well, it was certainly a sight, catching the SkyTrain into the stadium. The street march for the Turkish fans went for 3 blocks. Listen to them as well. I think they're winning the singing competition at the moment as well, the Turkiye fans. But things ramp up when their number 8, Arda Güler, gets the ball, the young star from Real Madrid.
Well, here he is on the ball just as you speak, and Australia with a little bit of miscommunication there. Nobody tracked that ball and Güler was able to run onto it unchecked. Australia have regrouped their shape now, but the ball is with Kökçü on the edge of the Australian penalty area, now with Kadioğlu, and the shot from Hakan Çalhanoğlu is deflected behind, and the game's first corner belongs to Turkey, Andy Harper.
And the Poppadome, as it's referred to, is unbreached, standing strong and tall, and in their collection around the penalty area, Turkey stringing some passes together. It does depend a lot, the Turkey cause, on Arda Güler, the young 21-year-old. He is such a superstar. It is a blessing for Australia that he comes in at least a little less than 100% fit, but still a wonderful player. He set up that attack, the result of which is this corner now for Turkey.
Maybe the first test about to arrive for Patrick Beach. Çalhanoğlu's corner, and that came off an Australian head again. In fact, I think there was a clash of heads involving Cam Burgess and one of the Turkey players, and a bit of blood coming from the mouth of Cam Burgess, which may need some attention, Andy.
Yeah, well,
I think it was actually a friendly fire, wasn't it? The arm of Harry Suter that caught him.
Yeah, I think it was. Here's the reprise corner for Turkey.
Çalhanoğlu again from the near side of the stadium as we sit. Australia deal with the first phase, but it's still not completely away. This is Kadioğlu. Still plenty forward in this attack for Turkey. And eventually it glances off the head of Jacob Italiano and out for a throw.
Setting for a longer throw. Just the last time Australia had the ball up around Turkey's penalty area, the ball falls to Nestor Iankunda, and 10,000 Aussies in the stadium were expecting him to shoot.
This is Arda Güler, a little magician from Real Madrid, but he's hustled out of it brilliantly by Mohamed Toure. That's what you call defending from the front, Andy. And Patrick Beach has passed his first test as well, getting the ball away from danger under pressure, albeit it's sprayed out for a throw-in for the Turks.
Yeah, there's an opportunity there for Australia to break away. It was in the strength the category Moture versus Ardagula. Moture is going to win, knocked him off the ball nicely, and there was a half opportunity for Australia to counter-attack.
This is Ferdy Kadiolu, who's had such a good season for Brighton and Hove Albion. Won their Player of the Year award as they qualified for Europe. Not too often that they do that. The club very much on the rise, as is the Turkish national team, back in the World Cup after a 24-year absence. We all remember the last team that played for them at the World Cup in 2002 because they reached the semi-finals, finished third on that particular occasion.
Yeah, Turkey are one of that group of nations you'd have to say are the great underachievers. The passion for football in that place is unbelievable. It hasn't translated into international success.
Turned back by Zeki Çelik. They're about midway inside the Australian half of the field. Now they look to accelerate into the penalty area. Cam Burgess providing cover at the expense of a throw.
Yeah, it was a nice exchange from Turkey, but again, Australia's defence well coordinated. Cam Burgess clearing without trouble.
Nearly 6 minutes played. Our clock for Valvoline, the original engine oil. It's Australia 0, Turkey 0 in this FIFA World Cup 2026 Group D opener on SEN. Simon Hill and Andy Harper with you in commentary, as we will be for all three of Australia's group games. And at the moment, Australia are pinned back into their own defensive third with Çalhanoğlu in possession. And he gets the return ball from Zeki Çelik, the Roma defender. Lovely little dummy by Goulart. He's looking to steer it into that top corner. He's not been successful on that occasion, Andy, but that's a little glimpse of this young man's talent.
Well, it was the awareness to let the ball go, let it through his legs. He continued his run, and the first time pass put Goulart in front of goal. It was Ocon Hengsler who got sucked in to that dummy from the Real Madrid maestro. But then he couldn't. From a reasonable angle from him, he scored plenty of goals from exactly that part of the field, just on his left foot to the right of the goal post, outside the penalty area.
Here's Conor Metcalfe down the other end, with the Australians up out of their seats. Moture looking to find the angle for the cross. In the end, he does get a touch off Abdulkarim Bardakci, and Australia have their first corner, which brings the roar to the throats of the Socceroos fans.
And here's the threat for Turkey. That have identified it pre-game. It's the part of Australia's game that makes them most nervous, and Conor Metcalfe doing so well to win the corner. He started very positively.
Well, he won the corner, and he is going to take the corner, Conor Metcalfe. Sutar looking to make his run at the back post. It's gone all the way through to the goalkeeper, Urcan Çakir, who makes a safe gather and sets Turkey on their way. Bit of a disappointing set piece for Australia. Now they've got to regroup quickly. It's Zeki Çelik on the ball. Cam Burgess trying to stay with him. Yeah, there's a little bit of contact. Turkey are claiming a shove by the big Australian defender, who's still got blood coming out of that cut in his mouth that he suffered from the previous Turkish corner, but there is no free kick, Andy Harper.
And disappointing for Australia. The corner was set for them. It was a poor corner from Conor Metcalfe, and Turkey broke really quickly, and it ended up with Çelik in a foot race. And Cam Burgess just marshalled him expertly. Really calm play.
We just got a shot of Vincenzo Montella, the coach of the Turkish national team, known during his playing days as the little aeroplane. And he's become very popular in Turkey after leading them back to the World Cup finals. Actually played at a World Cup finals for Italy, who are again missing for the third time running in the World Cup finals. Crazy story.
This World Cup has started 3 days in, you still can't believe Italy aren't here. And it's still the butt of a lot of football jokes, very painful one for Italian fans. But Turkey know the feeling of missing out on recent World Cups. Australia not so. It's their 6th consecutive appearance at the World Cup finals. And they've started well here, the Socceroos.
9 minutes played on the Valvoline scoreboard, the original engine oil and official supporter of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It is Australia 0, Turkey 0. And just that one sort of half chance really for Arda Güler, which came after 6 minutes, which a player of his abilities, as Andy Harper rightly points out, you probably expect to at least work the goalkeeper, but he was unable to do so. And Australia back in their defensive shape with Turkey in possession just inside their own half of the field. Sent forward by Bardakci. And worked wide by Orkun Kökçü. And Turkey enjoying another little spell of possession. Australia happy to sit in their defensive shape. It's sort of the pattern we expected, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, the pattern that we want the Socceroos to break here in this game one of their World Cup campaign is to have a decent first half, because they've set a repeated pattern of poor first halves.
And that ball into the penalty area drifts harmlessly behind for a goal kick.
But so far so good. And they'll push forward with numbers when they get the chance, but otherwise the formation will be very compact and they won't drop immediately back into their penalty area equally. And they're not going to be chasing shadows around the pitch and allow Turkey to isolate players, move the ball without any pressure on them.
Loose ball gets away from Conor Metcalf, and Goulet once again has the ball on a string. Less so his teammate, who left that pass a little bit short of Orkun Kökçü, but Turkey comfortably back in control of the football. Midway inside their own half, they work it out wide left to Ferdi Kadiolu. And he looks for that little threaded ball to find Aktürkoğlu. And he just had too many bodies in the way. And Australia, by and large, so far, Andy, have looked reasonably comfortable.
Yeah, untroubled. This is the phase of play now. When they first get possession to keep a couple of good touches, Jordi Boss has lost that one again, but it's broken fortuitously.
And there is room on the right for Jacob Italiano if they can move it out quickly enough. They do eventually find the defender who's playing in Austria for Graza AK, but needed to be a little bit quicker in transition. But Italiano's looking to steal him behind. Oh, and the cross is overcooked by quite some distance, with Iran Kunda and Toure drawn towards the near and far post. They'll get a second bite at it. Does come off the head of Mo Toure. Conor Metcalf trying to get a piece of it. Turkey clear their lines. And now steadied down, momentarily at least, by Arda Güler. But Australia win the ball back high up the pitch.
Two brilliant opportunities for Australia, but nothing meaningful with the cross. Italiano, a great run and ball that found him. His cross was a poor one. And then Jordi Boss couldn't get the ball in once he'd retrieved it from the far touchline. But Australia settling again.
Well, whenever you hear boos on our coverage, you'll know that that's good news for Australia, because they're in possession. The boos from the Turkish fans, and they're having to scramble back now, the Socceroos, because Çalhanoğlu has got the ball. They've got every single outfield player and the goalkeeper, of course, now behind the football, Australia. Turkey just content to play a bit of keep ball and try and move them around. Arda Güler goes central, gets the return ball from his teammate. Wide left is Kadiolu. Australia have never actually beaten Turkey. They've only played each other twice. Both friendlies back in 2004, both in Australia. And both ended in wins for Turkey. This is Barış Yılmaz looking to get it across, but he was off balance. The cross falls over the top of the goal, and it's a Socceroos goal kick.
Well, Turkey, for all their very promising pieces of possession and territory, the crossing has been poor as well, delivery into the box.
Australia's record on match day one of the World Cup doesn't necessarily make for great reading, Andy. One win, which was against Japan back in 2006. We all remember that one. And 5 defeats 4 years ago. Of course, it was a 4-1 loss to France after Craig Goodwin had given the Socceroos an early advantage. And they are looking to spring the offside trap here.
Look at Jordi Boss go.
Goodness me. Look at him go. Jordi Boss thought for a moment he might have won a corner, but that was pretty impressive pace he showed across the floor, but in the end he got the final touch and it's a goal kick.
Well, he burnt the newly laid grass. This is the first football match played on this new turf. It's normally synthetic grass for MLS and the Canadian Football League, where the BC Lions play, but it's been ripped up and laid beautifully as well. It looks magnificent, and Australia and Turkey treated to the maiden run. And didn't Jordi Boss run then? Geez, he can move. The flyer from Hopper's crossing.
He's had quite the season for Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie. 36 games, 4 goals, but 9 assists from left fullback. Although, of course, he occasionally does play a little bit further forward than that. Jacob Italiano steering the ball all the way back to Patrick Beach, who as yet has been untested. And referee's going to bring them all the way back for an offside against Barış Yilmaz. Tony Popovic, who we've just seen on our monitor here, has just signed a new contract, of course, with the Socceroos to take them through to the end of the Asian Cup in 2027. Interesting time to make that announcement, Andy, just before the World Cup started.
Yeah, the timing was remarkable, really. It's done now. I can't really remember in all the World Cups we've watched an announcement like that being made, or Australia or any other country, but it's sorted now.
Launch forward, and Mo Toure is onto this one. He's level with the Turkish penalty area, waiting for support to arrive, and he couldn't get past the defender. Maria Demiral. It is going to be a corner though for Australia. Demiral protesting that it should have been a goal kick, and that might have led to something a bit more meaningful that for Australia.
Well, this is Mo Toure in open space. He haired after that ball. He just perhaps lacked a little bit of a trick to get past Demiral, who stood his ground. But Australia have got their second corner now. The first one from Metcalf was poor. Any improvement on that will be a bonus for Australia. And Harry Souttar is beseeching Connor Metcalf to drop it on the spot, Connor, and let me murder the thing.
Where's Craig Goodwin when you need him? And Connor Metcalf can deliver with the left peg as well. And again, he's gone a little bit close to the goalkeeper, who was none too convincing. And I think the final touch might have even come off Souttar. And it's behind for a goal kick. But the goalkeeper didn't look too comfortable here, Andy.
Well, no. And
he did get a little bump, to be fair, on the way through.
Exactly. So the ball goes in from a goal. VAR might have adjudged that contact to have been too much. But 2 corners for Australia. It should be a big advantage for them. And both have been a bit flat.
The goal kick's going to have to be retaken. Referee Jesus Valenzuela not happy with something. And goalkeeper Urcan Çakır, 30 years of age, from Galatasaray. Had 12 years with Trabzonspor before the switch last season, as Çakır commits a foul and then protects the ball, which drew the wrath of the referee as Turkey looked to take a quick set piece. And you've got to be careful with those, Andy. You can easily end up with a yellow card.
You can, and it depends. FIFA have allowed this sort of stuff to creep in. If you get a cranky ref, you can get a yellow card for delaying the restart. Some are a lot more patient.
Well, so far the pre-game comments of Hakan Çalhanoğlu have been largely correct, that they have dominated the game in terms of possession. No real chances apart from that half opportunity for Arda Güler. Might be one brewing here though. It's fired over the top from the edge of the box by Ferdi Kadiolu. Yeah, and again, Patrick Beach not called into action, Andy.
Another shooting opportunity for Turkey. And Australia's defence is well organised. The spacing between the players is very good. And time to shoot, but not the technique to deliver. Another one comes and another one goes for Turkey. Australia getting stronger as the game goes on.
Patrick Beach restarts play with a long launch forward, but straight onto the head of Kadiolu. Return with interest by Aidan O'Neill, and Mohamed Toure's got away from his marker for a moment. Gets to the byline, and then the feet got in a little bit of a tangle. And it comes off the standing leg and goes behind for a goal kick. Toure rather cheekily claiming a corner.
Well, the good and the bad of that is that Bardakci now, the left stopper, left central defender for Turkey, knows he's got his hands full with Toure in a foot race. He showed great strength and athleticism. He just lacked the finishing moment there.
Yeah, Mo Toure has had such a great spell since arriving at Norwich City. 10 goals and 3 assists to boot in 12 appearances in the English Championship. last scored for Australia in the Soccer Ashes series against New Zealand, and September of last year got both goals, both his international goals in that particular contest. And he's the man leading the line for the Socceroos this evening. They're not going to get many opportunities, Andy, but when they do get one, you hope they've got the quality to take it.
Well, they're showing great composure at the moment. They haven't enjoyed much possession, but they're working through the lines now as Australia breaks over halfway. Okon-Enxler with a really cheap giveaway. And they're the moments that change games potentially. Irankunda was free. Okon-Enxler found the defender between he and his Socceroos teammate, when a completed pass to Nestori was certainly on the cards.
20 minutes played in Vancouver. The clock for Valvoline, the original engine oil. It is Australia 0, Turkey 0. You're tuned to the 2026 FIFA World Cup game between Australia and Turkey, live on SEN. Myself, Simon Hill, and Andy Harper, and will be your commentary team for the 3 Australian games in Group D. And I guess if you're Tony Popovic, Andy, you're probably thinking, well, so far so good.
Well, again, just to bring up the theme, the repeated one of Australia under Popovic having poor first halves and good second halves. Well, they've broken that pattern. They've been very solid. They need to be a little bit better in possession and make the most of the chances that come. But their defence has really blunted Turkey. Have had good possession. Socceroos opponents today, but they've not really threatened Patrick Beach in Australia's goal so far.
And another attempted threaded ball through is cut out by Jacob Italiano, who has made a good start on his World Cup debut. Had something of a breakthrough season in Austria. And so far, at least, it looks as though he's the answer to that problematic position on the right-hand side of the Socceroos defence.
Well, it's one part of the Socceroos 11 which is probably the most contested. Lewis Miller, of course. All things considered, you would have expected to have been selected. The Blackburn Rovers player, but he ruptured his Achilles, which opened the door for Jacob Italiano.
Talking of contests, Mo Toure brought to ground, Australia free kick, but that is the signal for the drinks break with Drinkwise, drinks break sponsor of SEN's coverage of the FIFA World Cup 2026, official radio broadcaster for all the goals, for all the corners, for all the passes, for the underdogs, for the champions, for the all-conquering moments, for the watch parties you might be attending during the tournament, maybe at home, maybe at the pub, maybe at the club. The Cup only comes around every 4 years. You want to experience and remember those moments, cheering with family, friends and other fans, celebrating together as one, celebrating at the right pace and looking after yourself while you do it. So if you're choosing to have a drink, make sure it's in moderation. Remember, you won't miss a moment if you drink wise. Drinkwise, drink break sponsor of SEN's coverage of the FIFA World Cup 2026, official radio broadcaster. And Andy, while the players have a breather, you can give us your summary of the opening 20 minutes or so.
In general, Simon, I think the games followed a pattern that was expected. I'm pleased at the end of the first quarter. Do we officially call it that now?
It feels like it, doesn't it?
It does feel like it. I think Tony Popovic will be very buoyed that the output has been excellent from the Socceroos. They've had trouble in first halves of matches, and they're not waiting till the halftime spray from Tony Popovic to correct things. They've been very, very solid. They need to be a little better in possession, and one or two passes when they've been settled, which really could have turned the screws for Australia when came unstuck, which is a frustration, I'm sure. Correctable, most certainly. The young guys have done well since they've come in. You know, all the talk, and there was a lot. We were part of it. The huge selection shocks have, you wouldn't say the decisions have been vindicated yet. There's been nothing really on the edge to go one way or the other. But the guys who've got the nod, Paul Okon-Enxler in midfield for Jackson Irvine, doing very, very well.
Well, football's version of the 7th inning stretch is out of the way. And the coaches have had their say. And Tony Popovic, I mean, we can't hear what he's saying, obviously, from this vantage point high in the stands at this wonderful venue, Andy, but seemed to be perhaps making that point quite stridently that possession's got to be a little bit better, the passing's got to be a little bit cleaner.
And interestingly, in the time they had, Simon, Tony Popovic spent most of his time one-on-one with Mo Toure. And I think that's to encourage Mo's attacking play, but also as he's dropping to get the second ball, and to make sure that the Turkish captain, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, doesn't run the show. And he needs that pressure from his blind side to come from Mo Toure and maybe knock him off the ball, pinch a little bit of possession. That was really interesting. All the other players were left to the rest of the coaching staff to sort through this and that, but it was Mo Toure who got the special treatment from Tony Popovic, who I think will be very satisfied with the opening period here.
Well, we're about to resume with the free kick that Mo Toure won, the foul by Ismail Yüksek. Just inside the Australian half of the field. Harry Sutar going cross-field towards Jordi Boss on the left. This is Okan Engsler, who springs clear of his marker and turns it back towards his central midfield partner, Aidan O'Neill. What are you made of Paul Okan Engsler's World Cup debut so far, Andy?
I think he's done well, but all the players have been able to settle because the collective has worked very strongly. A couple of errors, Connor Metcalf and then Harry Sutar now invite Turkey.
Yeah, it wasn't the best clearance by Sutar, and Turkey are back on the attack on the left-hand side with Barış Yılmaz. He's given the ball back by Guardiola, trying to find the angle for the shot, or the cross rather, and the shot eventually does come in from Arda Güler. And he caught it quite sweetly with his less favoured right peg, and it was straight at Patrick Beach, and the Socceroos fans breathe a big sigh of relief, and now they spring into the attack. It's Nestor Irankunda! He's done it! What a goal from one end of the pitch to the other! Nestor Irankunda, you star! The world knows what we've known for a long time now. And when the ball was launched over the top, Irankunda's pace and purpose took him clear of the defender. And his finish was clinical. And from one end of the pitch to the other, Australia lead Turkey by a goal to nil.
Just incredible here in Vancouver. Arda Güler with the shot on goal. Patrick Beach with really quiet and soft hands just diffuses it and relaunches the attack. And once Irankunda has got that ball and knocked it inside the penalty area onto his right foot, there is not a person on God's earth who's going to stop him from there. He is made of TNT. Look at that goal, just beautiful from Nestor Irankunda. Out of Adelaide, born in a refugee camp, could have played for Burundi, but here he is for the Socceroos.
Well, he is the green and gold X Factor. And in truth, Andy, he's barely been in the game up until that moment, but that's what the big players do on the biggest stage. And credit to Paul Okan Engsler, because that was a lovely ball over the top to send him racing clear.
Well, the three youngsters combined. Patrick Beach with the save. Instead of standing up and taking a chill, he got the game going straight away. It falls then to the other youngster, Paul Okan Engsler. Beautiful ball over the top. And we will be watching that Nestor Irankunda moment for many, many years. The power in the kid is incredible, and there was nothing. A Pride Alliance wasn't going to stop him from getting to that ball and slotting in the opening goal of Australia's 2026 World Cup Finals campaign.
Well, Turkey now have a problem that perhaps they didn't expect. They were full of boasts in the pre-game, Andy, about how they were going to dominate this game. Well, it's one thing dominating possession, but you still have to work the goalkeepers. And Australia have struck first, as they did in Qatar 4 years ago on match day one against France. Now, that did not end well. But Turkey, with respect to them, are not of the level of France. And there could be it again here. The goalkeeper's come a long way out of his penalty. A good clearance by Çakır, in fairness, with Irankunda bearing down on him. High-octane stuff by the Socceroos. They've got to focus defensively, though. Italiano's got caught out. This is Guardiola, has support from Yilmaz on the left-hand side, but there's nobody in the penalty area, strangely, for Turkey. That lack of a number 9 could hurt them, perhaps. Güler is then held up by Cameron Burgess. The Socceroos have got the bit between the teeth here, but they've got to focus. Good clearing header by Sutar. Out it comes. Oh, that's a great hit. It's off the woodwork. Goodness me, Abdul Karim Bardakci. And the post is still reverberating, I think.
Incredible hit. Beach beaten, and the post saving Australia.
Wow, that was some hit by the central defender, and another long-range effort. This one more wayward by the captain Hakan Çalhanoğlu, and the Australians survive, but only just Andy Harper.
He did not muck around with this one. Bardakci.
Actually, I think Beach might have got a touch on this. Let's have another look.
Yep. He got a fingernail to it. Well, the game has gone the way Australia would have planned it. Quite remarkable. Toure or Irankunda on the break. Catch us if you can stuff. And Turkey couldn't catch Nestori. But they're a champion team. They've got great players. They've already rebalanced Turkey.
Half an hour played in Vancouver. The clock for Valvoline, the original engine oil. It's Australia 1, Turkey 0. You're listening to live coverage of this Group D encounter on SEN Radio with Simon Hill and Andy Harper. Nestori Irankunda is the name on everybody's lips, wearing green and gold around this spectacular venue in British Columbia. But Australia know that they're still a long way from home, and they've got more defending to do here. Turkey have the ball on the right-hand side, slipped into the penalty area, and easily seen away by Aidan O'Neill for the Socceroos. Out for a Turkey throw, which they take quickly. We just had a quick shot of Vincenzo Montella, who is stony-faced in the Turkey technical zone.
Well, how good are the Socceroos going to be at just strangling the opportunities? Now, defending in huge numbers. Now, the spacing between the players is the key. They're really well organised. They've really, from all their possession, Turkey have just had the one telling effort on goal, which was Bardakci. Australia have pinched and scrapped when they've needed to. They've been strong in the centre of defence, basically. And the two African Australians out of Adelaide on the counter-attack are proving real handsful. Mo Toure, Nestori Irankunda.
And Nestori Irankunda with his 6th international goal and just his 16th cap. Scored twice against Curacao, of course, in the March window, and won the FIFA Series Player of the Tournament. He struck again here on the big stage tonight. Australia have given away another free kick just inside their own half of the field. The foul by Harry Sutar. Turkey back in this familiar pattern of possession. Australia in their defensive shape with everybody behind the ball, looking to absorb the pressure and then hit Turkey on the counter, which they did to such great effect for the opening goal, which came after 27 minutes. This is Ferdi Kadiolu, though, for the Turks. Out on the left is Barış Yilmaz, almost level with the Australian penalty area. The cross is a poor one. It's volleyed away, thumped upfield by Nestori Irankunda.
He was 70 metres from goal. Please tell me he wasn't shooting.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Given his talents.
No, that was him taking a breather. He's a little bit gassed. You can imagine the emotion of it.
Well, Australia got a little bit lucky there as Turkey looked to spring into the penalty area. The ball ricocheting off an Australian and back to the grateful arms of Patrick Beach, who will launch it long off the head of Maria Demiral for Turkey. We just had the match momentum stat pop up on screen, and it is basically, Andy Harper, all red, save for one little patch of green and gold. But it doesn't matter how much of the play you have, it's about scoring goals. And Australia have the one that matters so far. Mo Toure has committed a foul, just dragging his opponent back. Free kick to Turkey, deep inside their own half.
And it's not a free kick he intended to give away, but it's not a bad one to concede. Here's the shot. We're just seeing the shot saved by Gula. Patrick Beach with the quick release, and pictures that Australians will cherish for generations. What a moment for Nestori Irankunda and this Socceroos team, and the 10,000 Aussies in the stadium, and all those listening on SEN. What a privilege to be here, and what a start from Australia.
Nestori Irankunda, just the 10th Australian to score at a World Cup, men's World Cup that is, of course. Tim Cahill, the nation's all-time leading scorer in the finals with 5, and then it's Miller Jedinak with 3, Brett Holman with 2, and 1 each for John Aloisi, Harry Kuehl, Craig Moore, Craig Goodwin, Mitch Duke, Matt Leckie and now Nestor Irankunda, who's just committed the latest foul and is just going to have a word in his ear from match referee Jesus Valenzuela, and is told in no uncertain terms next time that will be a yellow card. Turkey quickly on with the game. Ferdi Kadiolu on the ball, level with the Australian penalty area. On the left-hand side, this is Barış Yilmaz looking to find the angle for the cross. And Kökçü trying to scoop it in towards the top corner, but he was off balance, and ultimately the shot was way off target, Andy Harper.
And ultimately, Turkey players' technique is not good enough in the crucible moments. Patrick Beach with one excellent save. We'll give him the credit. That fingertip onto his right-hand post. That stunning shot from Bardakci. And Australia in pole position. And there wasn't a Turkish fan past whom you'd walk pre-game who wasn't tipping a 3-0 win for Turkey. Well, whatever happens from here, that prediction's gone.
35 minutes played. Tony Popovic on the sideline with an encouraging clap of the hands. Passes attempted, we've just had that stat. Australia 114, Turkey 266. That's more than double, but again, whichever way you slice the numbers, it is goals that matter. And Australia in possession through Harry Sutar. Clips it out towards Jacob Italiano. Intelligent ball off the chest to find Connor Metcalf, who gets the head up early and finds Irankunda. This is good play by Australia. Geordie Boss on the left. Australia looking threatening here. Can they find the right delivery into the box? Okon Engsler. It's a bit deep. In fact, it's too deep for Italiano. Goal kick.
Disappointing, really disappointing. It was set nicely. Jacob Italiano been excellent in this game, and a couple of really clever touches from him, linking with Connor Metcalf, opened the field up for the Socceroos, and Okon Engsler, with the easiest pass of them all to make, really, blazed away, and the chance evaporated for the Socceroos. It's now Turkey in possession again.
Australia 1, Turkey 0 on the Valvoline scoreboard, the original engine oil and official supporter of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. That's a through ball that was always going to favour Patrick Beach, and he was smartly off his line to gather. Looking fairly composed on his World Cup debut, his shock selection today, ahead of regular skipper Matt Ryan. One that not many of us saw coming, Andy.
No, and when you consider just what an earthquake that announcement was, not just for Matt Ryan, but for the youngster taking Matt Ryan's place, but he's settled really well. Patrick Beach.
And by the way, how about that for composure from Harry Sutar under pressure? You heard the gasps from the Australians in the crowd. He's barely played any football this season due to injury. Now, Nestor Irankunda has got away from the defender who slipped. And Australia have a 3-on-3 attack, but they've somewhat butchered that. Might go out for an Australian throw. That is the case, but it might have been more.
Yeah.
Again, had a good break there.
It's those moments, that little bit of lack of quality. Nestor maybe relaxed a little bit as he hit the ball square, and it neither went to Connor Metcalf nor Jacob Italiano. And to Italiano's credit, again, it's another feather in his cap in this first half. He slid in bravely to win the challenge, which has earned the throw in for Australia. It's the Socceroos fans' voices he can hear in full cry here at the moment.
Here's Geordie Boss at the edge of the penalty area. He got nice, clean contact, just not the direction it flashes past the post and out for a goal kick for Turkey.
And Geordie Boss, one of the top players in the comp at the moment for the Socceroos. He's probably been quiet. It's a great save. Again, we've just seen on the monitor. It's definitely a save from Patrick Beach. You called it first, Simon. I'm later to that party.
Well, it goes down as a brilliant stop.
Excellent.
And one that the Socceroos are grateful for, because it was only really a couple of minutes after Australia had taken the lead, and that really would have rocked them back on their heels. So credit to the Melbourne City custodian. Now Italiano forced into a rather hurried back pass, which Beach does really well to control and get out of harm's way, but this is Arda Güler. Swivel of the hips to take him clear of Okon Engsler in the midfield. Turkey back in control. Güler rolls it into the path of Abdul Karim Bardakci, who had that shot that was tipped onto the post by Beach. Yilmaz with the cross. And it came off the heads of Alessandro Cercati and grabbed under no real pressure by Patrick Beach.
Who's not waiting to get the game restarted again. It's great confidence by the Socceroos. They're finding it occasionally difficult to play out of the back and through the lines, but they're still backing themselves to do it. And if they need to put their head down and just drop the ball with a bit more length, they're prepared to do it. Great mentality from the Socceroos in this opening half of their 2026 World Cup Finals campaign.
And they have made the perfect start thanks to Nestori Irankunda. His goal on 27 minutes, dividing the teams as we head into the last 5 minutes of this first half. The clock for Valvoline, the original engine oil, official supporter of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. There's a bit of space here on the left for Ferdi Kadiolu for Turkey. Now it's with Barış Yilmaz, and again that familiar pattern of players waiting in the middle, Andy, and the ball just not arriving for Turkey.
Yilmaz, the peroxided left winger for Turkey, I'd say has had more possession than any other player on the field, and he's not delivered a thing yet. It's up against Jacob Italiano, in my opinion, not really noted for his defensive strength at this point in his career, but he's been excellent, Italiano, in this first half. And Turkey have just kept knocking on the door, but nothing more than that.
I do wonder whether Vincenzo Montella might be tempted to make a change and bring on Kenan Yildiz in the second half, his big star from Juventus. Here's a chance though, edge of the penalty area, and it's fired well wide again. Same player, Arda Güler, same result. Patrick Beach untested.
It's not a great shot, but Tony Popovic won't want the chances racking up for Güler. He's not going to keep missing all night. Okan Ensler, perhaps if he could get there just a little half-yard closer. It was a good stretch from the young Sydney FC midfielder to put the extra pressure on, and Güler blazed away. And you're looking at this performance, as much as it was expected, well, the game plan was expected. Delivering it's another thing. The only one really who hasn't contributed the way they might, Simon, so far is Jordi Boss. You know, he's one of the leading lights of the team. He's had a great domestic season, picking a big second half for him. And if he can add to the collective here.
Here is Irankunda. Goes to ground. Referee says no foul. Australia still in possession. And Jordi Boss did have that effort, of course, some moments ago. That flew wide of the post, but here's a break. It's 5-on-3 for Turkey. Danger looming for Australia. Burgess can't cut that one out. Okan Ensler gets back and gets a touch, and now Burgess will lash the ball upfield, and Australia survive. But another little warning sign there, Andy Harper.
Well, again, it was a poor pass. Okan Ensler has been good tonight, but he's lost a couple of balls, and that straight pass from him was intercepted. Great chase back from Aidan O'Neill. And Okan Ensler not far behind in repairing the damage that his errant pass created.
A half-time whistle just 2 or 3 minutes away. There will be some stoppage time to be added, of course, primarily for the drinks break. But Australia at the moment holding firm, protecting that lead, given to them by Nestori Irankunda. Yilmaz trying to get to the byline again. It is going to be a Turkey corner, despite Jacob Italiano's protests.
Yeah, it's a super effort again from Italiano. He's just not given a thing away.
Well, they've overturned that decision. Of course, the new rules at this World Cup that so long as the decision is made quickly by VAR, they can rule and tell the referee, no, you got that one wrong. It's a goal kick, not a corner, and that's what they've done.
Yeah. Well, it was super work from Italiano. Has had a stellar first half.
And to be fair, we thought, Andy, pre-game that might be the area of the pitch that was a problem for Australia.
Well, we're not the only ones, clearly, Simon, because Turkey have driven most of their traffic down at Jacob. He has been sensational.
Metcalf. Nice roll and release for Boss. Here's Irankunda. Edge of the box, where he lost his footing. And ultimately the ball. And now Australia must scramble back. It's good scrapping by Okan Ensler, because Turkey are very quick in transition. But they smelt the danger on that occasion, Australia.
Yep. They're recovering well and now playing their own way through. Here's Boss. Can he deliver?
Irankunda with pace. taking on Maria Demiral. He has Boss alongside him. Still Nestor Irankunda, and this time it's straight at the goalkeeper. Goodness me, the Australians in the stands were out of their seats. Okan Engsler has then won the ball back momentarily for Australia, but carried it over the sideline for a Turkey throw. But goodness me, Nestor Irankunda is frightening the life out of Turkey's defence.
This is going to sound like a big one, Simon. There are a few players on the planet like Nestori. He is uncontainable when he's in this mood. The challenge for him is to get in that mood and with that output more consistently. But the power and the speed, it's frightening.
We tick over into the first of 4 additional minutes at the end of the first half. Still Australia 1, Turkey 0. Simon Hill and Andy Harper in commentary here in Vancouver. Motore trying to break through midway inside his own half. No way through for Australia. It's back with Kadiolu on the left, midway inside the Australian half of the field. Yilmaz, who's had so many chances to put in a decent cross and hasn't really delivered as yet. This is Arda Güler. It's very tight in there. Well, they're just trying to play a little too intricately there, you sense, Turkey, but Australia couldn't clear their lines.
A little bit of fatigue kicking in as well. You've seen in that last little passage of play, Connor Metcalf, the most recent, a chance to hack the ball clear, which is the option they take, but didn't really have the energy to focus necessarily.
Clever ball by Kadiolu into the penalty area. Aktürkoğlu back for Yilmaz, and beat chops to punch. He got good distance on it, in fairness.
Yeah, nervous moments these for Australia. Visibly tiring the Socceroos. Turkey setting up with possession again. If they're not careful, the Aussies, they will pick that pass, Turkey.
They need to get to half-time with that 1-0 scoreline still intact. Yilmaz on the left. Oh, but miscommunication between him and Orkan Kukçu, and that pressure valve is released for Australia.
Simon, that was the moment. That really was the moment for Turkey. Australia visibly fatiguing as we go into the last 2.5 minutes of added time on this first half. It's been a brilliant first half for Australia, getting a little bit ragged in these closing moments, and the Turkish fans rose with the volume because they knew that was their chance as they built down the left-hand side again, but the attack comes to nothing. They've been very disappointing in that phase of the game. Have Turkey, Yilmaz and Kukçu in combination, that last attack, playing the ball out for the goal kick, which was providing welcome respite for Australia.
And again, I asked the question, Andy, depending on his fitness, do they bring on
of course they do.
Kenan Yıldız second half?
Well,
even as early as half-time?
Of course they do, if he's got anything in him, because the left-hand side hasn't worked for them. They've clearly identified their left-hand attack. We go again down that part of the field now.
Here's Yilmaz once again. Creates an angle for the cross, but opts to go back to Çalhanoğlu. Australia sat so deep on the edge of their own penalty area, volleyed away to safety by Okan Engsler. Retrieved by Abdülkerim Bardakçı, and Turkey will have to start again. We've almost played 3 minutes of stoppage time. There's 4 minutes, or a minimum thereof, to be played. And Australia, at the moment, would love to be back in that dressing room and having a bit of a breather. Here's Arda Güler. Oh, it's brilliant skill by Arda Güler. Aktürkoğlu just shaping to shoot, and that is a brilliant challenge by Cam Burgess.
No, Simon, it was Çirkati.
It was Çirkati, my apologies. What a tackle that was to save Australia's bacon. Still more defending to do in the dying embers of the first half. Wide left this time is Kukçu, going for the low delivery, and Çirkati's there again at the near post to see it out for a throw.
Anywhere will do at the time being for Australia.
They do look a little tired at the moment.
Most certainly. What a brilliant tackle that was from Çirkati. Plays for Parma in Italy Serie A, where the fans have nicknamed him the Wall, and we saw clear evidence of it then. They're skirting on the edge at the moment defensively, the Socceroos. Can they see it out till half-time?
Aktürkoğlu trying to go around and in behind Cam Burgess, and Turkey have been smothered once again. Listen to the cheers from the Socceroos fans. That is half-time. What a first half for the green and gold. All those 10,000 Australian supporters on their feet. And to be fair, Australia were almost out on their feet at the end of the first half. But Nestor Irankunda's goal on 27 minutes divides the teams. at the break in Vancouver. It is Australia 1, Turkey 0. Welcome back to Vancouver. Second half just back underway. It's still Australia 1, Turkey 0. Turkey have just won a free kick just inside the Australian half of the field. And the big news to tell you as the second half gets underway, Andy, Harper, and we sort of speculated about it towards the end of the first half, that Kenan Yildiz of Juventus has replaced Barış Yilmaz at half-time.
Well, all things considered, it's a big in for Turkey. It's a big threat for Australia, depending on his fitness. He has had a calf injury, hasn't played the last couple of games, and clearly they thought they could do it without him in that first half, but enough evidence in.
Here is Kökçü with the ball into the penalty area of Australia, but seen away in the first instance by Okan Engsler, but not very far. Arda Güler looking to link up with Aktürkoğlu. Australia snaffle the ball away, and Jordi Boss has done well to retain possession, and now it's Mo Toure running at the Turkish defence. He has Jordi Boss on the left, and there's a player at the back post as well in Nestor Irankunda, and in the end Jordi Boss went for goal and deflected off Maria Demiral and away for a Socceroos corner. But that was a good break, and Jordi Boss leading the charge.
It's a great sight. This is a great sight. Jordi Boss needs to contribute more in the second half than he did in the first. But what a sight. Mo Toure on the break, Irankunda to one side, Jordi Boss on the left. Three, well, they're names of the now, but they're going to be huge names in the future for Australian football. And Jordi Boss turning onto that right foot, shooting with a deflection wide for the corner. Australia haven't threatened from corners yet.
Well, they've got a cluster of three. Chakati, Burgess and Sutar, the three central defenders at the back post. Now they scatter. It goes towards Sutar. It's a little bit deep for him. Italiano's going to try and shoot. Goodness me. That's ended up in about row H of the stand.
Not Jacob's best moment of what's been a very, very good game. Coming into the World Cup finals, of course, he had a couple of weekends in the Austrian Bundesliga where he plays for Graz AK. He scored a couple of beautiful goals. What had he done with one of them then? He was set nicely. He had time. It hit high and wide of the target. Turkey sitting again. The Yildiz inclusion could be pivotal.
Well, Yildiz in Turkish means star in English, and he is a real star. Let's see if he can have an impact. He's waiting for the ball to drop his way. This is Orkun Kökçü trying to scrap his way into the Australian penalty area, which ultimately he did, but Harry Sutar puts a size 11 boot through it and sends it back into Turkish territory. But Australia can't afford to sit too deep too early.
No. And just turn the game into try and choke the penalty area and hack the ball clear. They've got to...
This is Yildiz. Just break in there, Harps. And a chance for Çalhanoğlu. They're working this nicely, Turkey. Ball goes loose, the shot's blocked. Australia scrambling defence, and in the end, the effort from Ismail Yüksek was deflected away and behind for a corner, but that was a heart-in-mouth moment there for the Socceroos.
And there's going to be more of them if they can't get their slice of possession. Just a few minutes in now, so the game hasn't been able to take on a particular pattern. Australia with one very good breakaway, but Turkey dominating otherwise. And appeals from the Turkish players for a handball on Alessandro Tidikati. Waved away, rightly so, by the referee.
But they do have a corner, which their captain, Çalhanoğlu, was about to take. But the referee just said, hang on a minute, whilst they check that in VAR. That alleged handball, that's been cleared. So it is a corner. Çalhanoğlu whips it in. It's off the head of Harry Sutar. His brother John was part of the Scotland squad that defeated Haiti by a goal to nil a bit earlier. The corner's been taken quickly. Burgess sees that one away. On the volley was Aktürkoğlu, not particularly cleanly. And Australia survive, and the ball is back with Kökçü. Rather aimless ball into the penalty area. Easily dealt with by Sutar, but again, just casually given away by the Socceroos.
Well, Okan Engsler just hooked the ball over his shoulder, expecting Mo Toure to chase the ball down at halfway, but Mo Toure had dropped into the defensive formation. Australia need to be better than that.
Well, that ball is going to stay in play for Yildiz on the left-hand side, but fortunately for Australia, Maria Demiral, who was up for the previous quarter, had strayed into an offside position. The player who plays for Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia has won the last two AFC Champions League elite competitions. But rather nosebleed territory for him, I would wager, Andy.
Yeah, a little bit of a fish out of water. It's some respite for Australia. And Turkey looking very assured. Australia just having to roll the sleeves up.
That's a good steal in midfield, though, by Aidan O'Neill, who is now driven back by the presence of Zeki Celik. And then Cameron Burgess all the way back to Patrick Beach in the Australian goal. The second half, 6 minutes old. Second half for Valvoline, the original engine oil and official supporter of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, as Australia get a little bit of a breather with a foul on Geordie Boss.
Yeah, it's good composed play from Geordie Boss. Got his ball, his body in between defender and ball, won the free kick. Important moments for Australia.
Clipped into the channel quickly by Cameron Burgess, and he's found Motoré, who's at the byline. Irankunda needed to reel that one in. The loose ball, though, favours Australia, and Ocon Engsler. This is Geordie Boss, and that is going to be an Australian corner. That's a good response from the Socceroos.
They're really important building blocks. These little moments when they can break Turkey's momentum, win a free kick and then move themselves up the field. Australia did very well. Interestingly, the star of the show so far tonight for Australia, Nestor Irankunda, has had 2 or 3 other occasions where his touch on the edge of the box has let him down. That was one just then. The corner came because of the Geordie Boss cross, but Nestor Irankunda had a chance to shoot at goal.
Here's the corner, clipped in by Aidan O'Neill, and Harry Souttar got free. It's pushed away by Turkiye. Back with O'Neill. Australia still with plenty forward in this attack. Chakati losing out initially, but he's won the ball back for the green and gold, and he goes down inside the box. Looks hopefully for a penalty. Referee says no. Italiano will sling in the cross, and Touré went for the spectacular overhead kick. Didn't really get the right connection. These are good moments for Australia. Irankunda in possession on the left-hand side. Almost level with the Turkish penalty area. Ocon Engsler driven back by Aktokolu. Geordie Boss twists and turns and gets rid of the Turkey. Number 7. You can hear the cheers from the Australian supporters in the crowd. They enjoyed that moment, Andy.
Well, he started this second half brilliantly. Geordie Boss is exactly what the team needs.
Australia just starting to string together 1 or 2 passes, and then it's broken up. And Burgess settles it down for the green and gold, deep inside their own half of the field. On the right-hand side is Alessandro Chakati, who made one very important block in the first half. And that defensive structure, so beloved of Tony Popovic, has so far stood firm. Here's Motoré as Australia look to build another attack. Touré looking to get the better of Zeki Celik. And gets a corner. Or does he? No. Belatedly, the flag goes up.
That's a good effort. Might have been a little bit more judicious with the ball there. There's the header from Harry Souttar. And Motoré's a big toe away from deflecting that one in.
I'll tell you what, any sort of a deflection
Anything
there from Touré, and that's 2-0 for Australia.
So after the opening 5 minutes, Australia were looking pretty scratchy. This is now the platform. Give as good as you're getting and take that as long and deep into the game as you can.
10 minutes gone in the second half. Our clock for Valvoline, the original engine oil. It's Australia 1, Turkey 0. The goal scorer, Nestor Irankunda, has just given the ball away. And then Ocon Engsler is forced into chopping down Orkun Kökçü. And this is a free kick in a very serviceable position for Turkey. About 20-25 metres dead straight from the Australian goal.
Great situation for Turkey. Irankunda''s touch just too heavy. And Ocon Engsler forced into some remedial work, which breached the laws of the game. And Turkey with this free kick, probably about 30 yards from goal.
And it's the side of the field just about, Andy, that really favours Arda Güler, who is their free kick specialist. There's Çalhanoğlu there as well, of course, just to keep the Australians guessing. It is Arda Güler, and he got it through the wall. Good save by Beach. Still not completely clear for Australia. Yildiz couldn't get his shot away. And on Turkey are appealing for handball here. At the moment, the verdict is corner. And the ball did appear to bounce up. Did it strike an Australian hand?
Well, it was excellent work from Patrick Beach. Good recovery from Italiano as well. And the Aussies tried to hack the ball clear. Just checking on that handball decision. Referees asked the corner to be delayed.
Well, there were one or two Turkey players that were convinced, but that's been waved away. VAR has checked it. Here's the corner from Çalhanoğlu. First phase is dealt with and then fired over the top by Ismail Yüksek. And Australian fans listening back home on SEN Radio, you can breathe easily once again.
We are, only just. It's a nerve-wracking experience, this. Australia with their noses in front, 27 minutes in. Watford's Nestori Irankunda giving Australia the lead. And a really good performance, bar a few moments where Australia have just had to stand and hack the ball clear.
Tell you what, there was a bit of confusion there in the Turkish defence between Kadiolu and Bardakci and goalkeeper Çakır, who eventually took charge and lashed the ball out for an Australian throw on the far side of the pitch. Pretty much midway inside Turkey's half of the field. And Australia are pondering making a change, and it's Nishan Velupillay who's standing by off the bench. Andy Harper, what's your take on that? We'll come back to that. Metcalf looking to link up with Toure. It's out again for another Australian throw.
Well, it's going to be, you'd imagine, for Irankunda or Metcalf, because Nishan is a winger. Australia don't play ostensibly with wingers. Or maybe Mo Toure missed a couple of training sessions this week. Maybe Irankunda goes to play as a centre forward.
Maybe a slightly surprising pick in the Australian squad, Nishan Velupillay. Not exactly had a vintage season for Melbourne Victory, but Tony Popovic knows him, of course. He played under Popovic at Victory, trusts him, likes him, and we know what he can bring, and he's done well for his country.
Well, he scored on debut for the Socceroos, scored a couple of goals in his first few matches to really set himself up.
Almost an hour played in Vancouver. Still Australia 1, Turkey 0 on the Valvoline scoreboard. The original engine oil and official supporter of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Arda Güler brings the ball forward for Turkey, but it's a misplaced pass and swept away rather carelessly, you have to say, by Jacob Italiano, who's under no pressure. Maybe he didn't get a call from a teammate. He had more time than he thought. Here's Kenan Yildiz, fresh off the bench, of course, but how fit is he? Darts into the penalty area. It's a great run by Yildiz. The ball spoons up in the air, and eventually Cam Burgess takes charge, and Beach grabs the football gratefully.
So dangerous for Australia, Yildiz. And it was Jacob Italiano who just hacked the ball clear, and it's that tiredness in the thought process. A long way from home for Australia just to be standing and hacking the ball away. And thankfully that's not been in huge evidence in this second half, but they've got to get rid of it completely, or they'll just invite Turkey in. A towering header from Burgess upfield now, and a foul on Irankunda, which gives Australia a chance, you'd imagine, to make this substitution.
Little shove in the back of the Australian goal scorer by Zeki Çelik, the right back from Roma, who played in the Europa League final back in 2022-23. Here is that change, and it is Nestori Irankunda, the goal scorer. Well, this will be a night he remembers for the rest of his life. The first time he scored in the World Cup finals, and it's the goal that separates the two as he's replaced by Nishan Velupillay.
Yeah, and just starting to get a little bit ragged, Nestori, but he's done his job. He might have done it one or two other times, but it's just a brilliant goal to set Australia up here. And now it's the opportunity of Nishan Velupillay.
Well, on the pre-game walk to the stadium, Andy, I was in conversation with Nishan Velupillay's mother and father and his aunt, and they've all got the Velupillay shirts on, and I mean, we can't pick them out where they are in the stands from here, but I'm sure they'd be very proud to see their relative take his place on the pitch as Australia's free kick finds the head of Harry Suter, but comes to naught, grabbed by Çakır in the Turkish goal.
Yeah, very commanding. Çakır when he needed to be. So Australia now with the twin worries of Arda Güler in possession now through the centre circle, spreading it out to the danger number 2, Yildiz.
Here is Yildiz up against Jacob Italiano. He's got supports on the edge of the penalty area. And again, they perhaps just try to overplay it a little bit, Turkey. And in the end, they've given away the throw. And you'll know that because you've just heard a big cheer from the Australian supporters.
Substitution for Turkiye. Player number 6,
There we go. Turkey making another change. Orkun Kukçu has been replaced and Yunus Akgün is on in his stead. Attacking midfielder, come right winger from Galatasaray, had a spell under Vincenzo Montella at Leicester City in England a couple of years ago. So Turkey going to all their big guns off the bench. Here's another one of them, Kenan Yildiz, but his shot is charged down by that deep-lying Australian defence who've retreated into their very basic shape on the edge of their own penalty area once again, Andy. But so far, it's served them pretty well.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to be surprised about what the Socceroos are doing now. It's once they've seen an attack away, how they regroup, try and get the ball and keep it for a few moments themselves.
This is Kenan Yildiz. He turns it back towards Arda Güler, who tries that fast little angle ball into the penalty area, but he got away from Ferdi Kadiolu. Turkey still have the throw and are still on the attack midway inside the Australian half of the field. On the left-hand side of the pitch, their fans looking to lift the noise inside BC Place and roar their team on. Kenan Yildiz again on the ball. That one's cut out by Okan Engsler. Sent long, and he urges his teammates to push forward a little bit. The big screens have the pictures of the Australian fans, still with big smiles on their faces at the moment. And there is still a long way to go in this game. And how a second goal for Australia would calm the nerves. They did have one chance at the outset of the second half, Andy. Jordy Boss with the shot that was deflected wide.
And the header from Sutar, which was almost falling to the feet of Mo Toure. Jordy Boss doing very well. Australia to link and build from here.
Well, they almost sprung clear of the trap that Turkey had set, but Arda Güler is back, having them facing their own goal. Turned back by Atukolu. Here's Kenan Yildiz, the little back heel. There are so many bodies in the Australian penalty area. And in the end, Volupele is back to lend a hand, but given away by Jordy Boss. Zeki Çelik strides forward. Güler couldn't control it. The ball was like a hot potato for a few seconds there.
Mate, it's nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking for Socceroos fans here.
And then Güler's shot rebounds back off Conor Metcalf and all the way out for a Turkey throw.
It's just that second pass. Often it's the first pass on counter-attack, which is the key. And Australia have lost a couple of those, but actually the one that's hurt them most is the second pass in counter-attack. Just coming unstuck. And Turkey coming again and building. Their fans can sense there's something brewing.
Well, they don't have that natural number 9. They've got plenty of talent elsewhere. Here's one of them, Kenan Yildiz. Top of the box is Arda Güler. He does most of the prompting with that wand of a left foot. Yildiz takes over. Fires in a shot on the angle. Güler again. And Yildiz again. And Australia just throwing bodies in the way. Really good block. This time by Aidan O'Neill, I think. Oh, goodness me. Australia having to defend in depth. And there are still, Andy Harper, 25 minutes to go in Vancouver.
A long way from home. In more ways than one, the Socceroos here. And Turkey, I mean, every player on the field, apart from Çakir in Turkey's goal, is about 30 yards from Australia's goal.
Well, they haven't got it right yet in the last third of the Australian half of the pitch.
But
Jordy Boss crowded out again. Another throw in for Turkey.
They are doing very well, Turkey, on that pass out. They're hunting in packs immediately to not let Australia settle on the ball.
Gula will find Kenan Yildiz in space. These are worrying moments for the Socceroos, trying to protect that 1-0 lead. Aktakolu, though, loses out on the edge of its own penalty area. Now can Australia spring a counter? Mo Toure couldn't wrap his boot around that pass to flick it out wide for Okon Engsler. And Australia back on the defensive. Mo Toure's gone down, perhaps with cramp. He's getting a helping hand from Maria Demiral. Yunus Akgun on the attack for Turkey, but he's run it over the byline. And it's going to be a goal kick for Australia. Low fives all round between Suter and Burgess and Beach.
And it's a great intercept from Cam Burgess, who's been a rock. Western Wall defending Australians' goal here. 4 of the back 5 are out of West Australia, Perth. If we can include Harry Suter in that, of course. Australian by heritage, his mum from Port Hedland in Western Australia. But Italiano, Cercati and Burgess all out of the city of Perth, and they're defending Australia's honour brilliantly here.
Well, that is the signal for the second hydration break of the game. We're Drinkwise, Drinks Break, sponsor of SEN's coverage of the FIFA World Cup 2026, official radio broadcaster for all the goals, for all the corners, for all the passes, for the underdogs, for the champions, for the all-conquering moments, for the watch parties you might be attending during the tournament, maybe at home, maybe at the pub, maybe at the club. The Cup only comes around once every 4 years, and you want to experience and remember those moments, cheering with family, friends and other fans, celebrating together as one, celebrating at the right pace and looking after yourself while you do it. So if you are choosing to have a drink, make sure it's in moderation. Remember, you won't miss a moment if you drink wise. Drink Wise, Drinks Break sponsor of SEN's coverage of the FIFA World Cup 2026, official radio broadcaster. And we send Sandy Harper in this hydration break that another change is imminent for Australia.
Well, it's the Adelaide connection. Iran Kunda with the game-separating goal on 27 minutes. Mo Toure, who's been brilliant, but he went down that last exchange. And it doesn't look like he'll continue. Let's hope there's no lasting soft tissue damage there for Mo Toure. He's not moving at all well in the centre circle. And his place to be taken by the third of the Adelaide African-Australians, Teddy Yengi. A bolter in the World Cup squad, if ever there was, Simon.
Well, he did score on his debut in the build-up game against Switzerland. One of only 2 uncapped players in this Australian squad before the World Cup, along with Christian Volpato. But now he's got that debut and his first goal out of the way. He's going to be asked to play a big part here in place of Mo Toure, who did miss a training session earlier on this week, Andy. I'm told that was just nothing more than a bit of stomachache. So this, I think, is completely unrelated. But as you say, let's hope it's not too serious, because he's done a really good job for the Socceroos tonight.
He has, but again, surprisingly, given the preparation they've had, it was visibly tiring. Really fatigued efforts, and it suggests that it's cramp that's got him. Jason Geary is always stripped and ready to come on. Tony Popovic calling for the reinforcements. Things just looking a little frayed and ragged on occasion. Just got to secure the ball better. Once they've seen off a Turkey attack, they have to retrieve and retain that ball better than they're doing.
And do you think Jason Geary for Jacob Italiano to try and head off that threat of Kenan Yildiz?
Yildiz was the threat that was emerging before the game against Italiano. Jacob's had a brilliant game, but that's exactly what it might be. Mo Toure's actually staying on the field. Is he asking for some more time? Teddy Yengi is still stripped and ready to go. So too Jason Geary.
Yep, they're just being told to hang on for the moment. And it's the Australian fans you can hear in the background. I hope you're picking that up on our effects mic in full voice. They still hold the advantage thanks to that 27th minute goal netted by Nestori Irankunda. And those changes remain imminent, not yet confirmed for Tony Popovic, who of course had an ill-fated spell in Turkey, didn't he, with Karabukspor. So a little bit of revenge perhaps on his mind tonight as well.
He might save that feeling for post-game. So I don't think
I'm sure he's not thinking about it at the moment. Yep.
But here's these moments again. Australia with a chance to play, and they cough up possession immediately. It's coming straight back, time after time.
Yep, they need to be a little bit better with the ball at their feet. This is Yunus Akgun, who's got the ball at his feet. And turning it back for his teammate Ismail Yüksek along the defensive line, and out for the dangerous Kenan Yildiz on the left. He's tricked his way past Jacob Italiano. It's a really good stretch by Çakırtı at the near post. Back with Turkey though, the back heel from Arda Güler. Now Kenan Yildiz, left-hand side of the Australian penalty area. Back out it comes, and along the line towards Zeki Çelik. Now with Yunus Akgün on the right-hand side of the Australian penalty area. Çalhanoğlu trying to slip a ball through. It's a lovely pass for the fullback, Zeki Çelik. And Patrick Beach made a big save there at the near post, because Çelik tried to fox him and thrash it with pace and beat him at the near post.
And Nishan Valukale beaten all ends up as the left-sided defender. Exposed badly, and very, very grateful that Patrick Beach did his job in goal for Australia.
That's two big saves by Patrick Beach. Here's the corner from Güler. Seen out for now by Harry Suter. Turkey will recycle possession. Çalhanoğlu thought about the shot for a moment. Squares it up for Yunus Akgün. Here's Arda Güler. Turkey now camped inside the Australian half of the field, and as soon as I say that, Ferdi Kadiolu gives a rare touch to his goalkeeper. Under pressure from Mo Toure, had to go back fully 60 metres.
Well, it might have been a sympathy pass just to make sure his goalkeeper stays connected with the game, because he's seriously just a spectator. Chuck here.
Turkey, sorry Andy, Turkey have had 22 attempts on goal, only 5 of those on target. Australia 8 with 3 on target. Here's Arda Güler, and that's another one off target for Turkey. I reckon Australia will be encouraged by the fact that they're now shooting from outside the box. Those changes are now going to be made for Australia. It is going to be Tete Yengi to replace the stricken Mohamed Toure, and as we predicted, Andy Harper, Jason Guerrier for Jacob Italiano. And they're good substitutions for Tony Popovic.
Very, very timely. A great job done by both. Mo Toure a little scratchy with a couple of possessions, but the effort and the danger he posed, brilliant. Jacob Italiano had a really memorable game, a superb performance, but he was running out a bit of juice. And, of course, up against one of the stars of European football in Kenan Yildiz, who's certainly looking the goods out on the left wing for Turkey. So he now becomes the assignment of Jason Guerrier.
Double substitution for
And Jason Guerrier, vastly experienced, of course. Now playing his club football back in Japan for Albirex Niigata. And Australia, courtesy of an errant touch by a Turkish player on the attack here. It's Conor Metcalf! Oh my word! Oh my goodness! What a goal by Conor Metcalf! Something out of nothing from the edge of the penalty area. It is an arrow-like finish with the left peg, and he's now smothered by jubilant Australians. And why not? The Socceroos, hear this back in Australia, lead Turkey by 2-0.
Thunderstruck is the soundtrack, and thunderstruck is Vancouver. Conor Metcalf shows what Australia can do when they keep the ball. He's had a super game, and he picked up possession deep in Australia's territory. He drove through halfway, angles in on goal, and this takes us back to South Africa 2010 and Brett Holman against Serbia. Only this one could win it for Australia against Turkey. Who'd have thunk it? Not the Turks, I'll give you the tip. They had Australia gone for all money, and the Socceroos are up by 2.
It's only Conor Metcalf's second international goal. He hasn't scored all season for his club. There are tears on the benches and hugs of pure unbridled joy between Tony Popovic and Paul Ocon, his assistant. Is that enough now for Australia? There's still plenty of time to be played, but we've just watched the replay. It is a sumptuous finish.
Brilliant, and it's Brett Holman and then some. What a moment for the South Cardiff gunner. He goes bang for Australia. Just an incredible moment. I'm sure Turkey can scarcely believe it. Down 2 in Vancouver. The drinks break is gone. We're into the last quarter, Simon.
Well, they had plenty to say in the build-up. Their captain, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, said, "We'll dominate the game. We have better players." And you know what? He might be right. But you've still got to score the goals. And it's Australia who've done that. Now can they defend this lead? Yildiz, they appeal for handball as Yildiz's shot came in, but it was from point-blank range. I'm not sure that could be given as a penalty. I think it was Jordy Boss the ball hit. But Australia now have to keep cool heads after those celebrations. Well, there are less than 15 minutes to go. Sorry, Andy.
No, don't apologise, Simon. It's the emotion they've got to get control of. It is a draining factor in itself. Gives you a huge charge, of course, and doubles the lead, which is quite unbelievable, given the way the second half was unfolding.
Just wait a minute. Debit. Oh, and that shot by Aktürkoğlu. If it's either side of Patrick Beach, Turkey are on the board. And it's straight at the Melbourne City keeper. Can you believe it? From point-blank range.
It's an amazing chance. It's a second such chance. The first from Gula in the first half, and Australia sprung up to score their first goal. Just shy of 52,500 people here in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andy. Sometimes when you see chances like that and they're hit straight at the keeper, you do start to believe it's going to be Australia's night. But let's not go too early.
Yeah.
13 minutes plus stoppages.
It's just amazing. Amazing what they've done so far.
Yildiz Akgün trying to thread the ball through the mass ranks of the Socceroos defence in front of him. Slid square by Çalhanoğlu. It's out for a throw-in. Nothing more for Turkey at the moment.
Nishan Volupale's got trouble at the moment. He's had trouble in possession. He's had a couple of troubles defensively. He's got to focus and get locked in here, Nishan.
The ball sent forward. Now Tete Yengi will challenge for this, and he's got the better of Bardakci. Briefly anyway. And he will send Jason Guerrier forwards. The centre of Turkey's defence has looked shaky at times tonight. We did pick that pre-game.
Yeah.
They're decent in the air, Demiral and Bardakci, but they're not that comfortable on the floor.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Mo Toure has been hammering away at them to real effect. Here's the chance we're seeing on the monitor straight at Patrick Beach. He was calm enough to snuff things out. Yildiz has been brilliant. The handball claim on Jordy Boss, rightly waved away. Australians in full voice in Canada.
I'm sure you can hear them back home. There's 10,000 of them inside Specie Place, and they've just watched their team win another corner. And Turkish heads, I don't know whether you sense, I just had a little look at one or two of them. Ferdi Kadiolu, head just started to drop a little bit.
Well, I'm sure they can't believe it. They've had all the ball, they've had some chances. Getting changed for Australia now. The denouement, possibly. Aziz Bayic.
Again, I was with his father earlier on today. Genial character. Came up and said hello. He'd love to see his son play in another World Cup. The corner whipped in. It's headed away by Abdulkarim Bardakci. Not fully clear yet for Turkey. Little slip, though, by Metcalf. And the ball goes out for a throw-in to Turkey, although Australia believe it should be theirs. And, in fact, the referee has changed his mind. And one or two Turkish fans that we're just seeing on the monitors with tear-stained eyes. They can't believe what they've watched here today. Their team full of superstars with only 10 minutes left on the scoreboards. Andy Harper, the Valvoline scoreboard, the original engine oil, and official support of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And their team is 2-0 down. And they have been two excellent finishes by Iran Kunda and Metcalf.
And the game at this point will be reduced to the chances Turkey missed when they shouldn't have. But as you've been labouring, the point you've been labouring, Simon, which is so right. Australia have had good chances outside of the two they've scored. Stunningly exciting goals. And now Tony Popovic shapes to bring on the experience. Matthew Leckie's already stripped, along with Aziz Bayic, getting the final instructions. Australia are about to turn from home, but it may as well be a mile away.
Good run. He's level in the penalty area. Eventually Australia scoop it away thanks to Aidan O'Neill up towards the halfway line where they only find Maria Demiral and nobody in a green and gold football kit. Two changes made by Turkey, by the way, in that last little break in play. Ismail Yüksek and Zeki Çelik have gone off. Mert Mulder and Salih Özkan are on, wearing numbers 18 and 5 respectively. It's getting late in the day now for Turkey to salvage even a point, which, I don't know about you, Andy, but at the start of play, I might have signed off for before the first whistle of the game. But now we'd be hugely disappointed if it wasn't all three. Here is Mulder. Arda Güler. And again, he shoots wide from long range. Well, Australia will happily watch those sail either side of the post all night.
They certainly will. He is capable from that sort of range, but it does reveal a little bit of a lack of belief that Australia, they've thrown a lot at Australia. And Burgess, Chiakati and Suto, just to name three in that penalty area, have been outstanding. Patrick Beach relaunching play now, outstanding. And Aidan O'Neill, a peerless effort across the field. He has been superb in the centre of Australia's midfield.
It's going to be a double change next break in play for Australia. Jackson Irvine and Aziz Beich, two vastly experienced players to try and help see the game out for the Socceroos. Bit more defensive work to do before that can become reality. Yunus Akgun in possession for Turkey. Midway inside the Australian half, down the right-hand side, which they've not favoured too much in this game this evening, the Turks.
No, and Jackson Irvine is also ready to come on. Aziz Beich is an interesting one. As a left fullback, does he go on for Geordie Boss? Does Geordie Boss go up to left wing for the remaining moments of the game?
All will be revealed presently. Meantime, Turkey again looking to try and fashion an opportunity. It flicks off the head of Jason Geria. Australia trying to break clear, and now they will get a throw in, courtesy of a miscue by the Turkish defender Demiral. And this double change for Australia can now be made. And you're right, Andy, Geordie Boss is going to be one of those replaced. And the other is Paul Okon-Engsler. I tell you what, as Jackson Irvine replaces Paul Okon-Engsler, I mean, we looked at the changes at the start of the 90 minutes today, and we did scratch our heads a bit, but so far, and again, we're trying not to go too early, but Tony Popovic has got it bang on.
Well, it doesn't matter what happens from here, because the time that's elapsed and Paul Okon's contribution has justified his selection. A couple of errors in passing, but he put on the pass for Iran Kunda and the goal. And he's had a fantastic, fantastic game. And he's got plenty of mates in green and gold. They're edging closer. Australia, 83, nearly 84 minutes gone. Australia up by 2.
Well, surely they can't blow it from here. This is Saleh Özcan, one of several substitutions made by Turkey in a bid to try and turn this game around. But for all their possession, for all their eye-catching passing, for all their individual talents, they've not really created enough opportunities as yet to worry Australia. Although Patrick Beach, in fairness, has made a couple of very good saves. Now a foul by Jackson Irvine, fresh to the game on Kerim Aktürkoğlu on the edge of the box, presents Australia with another potential problem, Andy Harper.
It is, it's a decent range as well. But Patrick Beach, talking about justifying selections, outstanding, really outstanding. And Turkey have fluffed their lines on a couple of occasions, but he's been calm and strong and excellent when he's needed to be.
Another change to be made by Turkey. Off goes Kerim Aktürkoğlu, who won that free kick. That's his final contribution. Deniz Gül, who plays his club football in Portugal with Porto and is 6'4" tall. Maybe they should have gone with a recognised big number 9 from the start, Turkey, against that sizable back three of Australia. Anyway, with 5 minutes to go, he is on. Turkey have a free kick. And Calhanoglu is lining this one up, and he got it through the wall, but Patrick Beach again is equal to it, pushes it away, and he pushed it into a good area as well. Wide and away from goal. Australia looking to break clear. Down goes O'Neill.
Look at that.
The whistle goes. It's going to be a card, which is going to be the first yellow, would you believe, of the contest.
What about the run, Simon, from Aidan O'Neill? The amount of territory he's covered under serious pressure. We're in the 85th minute of a World Cup finals match, and somehow he outsprints from a second-best position 2 Turkish opponents to win the front situation and the yellow card. And a respite free kick. Australia can take a breath, although Cam Burgess doesn't muck around. He launches it up to the big frame of Teddy Yengi.
And then Irvine steps in.
Need more from Teddy
Yengi.
Need more from him. He's 6'6" or something like that. He's a massive human. He's got to be throwing his weight around like Mo Toure was doing. He's got to do his best to at least make those a 50-50 if he can't secure possession. He can't just be there occupying space.
This is going to be a scrap for the last 5 minutes, as it has been all night, in fairness, for Australia. But, boy, they have stood up to the battle. And for all the pre-game talk, as we watch again, Çalhanoğlu's free kick, which probably was just creeping in to that bottom corner before Patrick Beach got across. It's a really good stop.
Yeah, he's done well. He's done very well.
Talk is cheap. And Australia are about to make Turkey eat their words. I won't go so far as to say that it's been a turkey stuffing just yet. But that scoreboard makes for very pleasant reading for Australian fans.
What about stuffing? But they'll be feeling roasted at the moment. And a lot of that brought on themselves. Australia not there yet, but getting close. 87 minutes tick by.
Kenan Yildiz tripping his way through. Arda Güler's stolen the march on the Australian defenders. Not a bad delivery. Back post here is Maria Demiral. Central defender, really, but playing as a right winger at the moment. Turkey desperate to try and put pressure on the Australian defence, but there's no way through. That's what Tete Yangi does best. And Nishan Volupale trying to race clear, but back providing cover was Ferdi Kadiolu, and Turkey survived.
Great speed from Kadiolu. Nishan Volupale had some territory in front of him. He would have backed himself too, but just didn't have the speed. Lovely work from Tete Yangi. That's what he's got to do. Just get that big body in front of a Turkish player and fight for possession. Let your teammates then come and get the crumbs and you can join in upfield.
Less than 2 minutes to go, plus stoppages on the clock for Valvoline, the original engine oil. Australia edging closer to a seismic win in Vancouver, with the United States and Paraguay to come, match day 2 and 3. Çalhanoğlu lets it run, but it's a tame effort from Arda Güler. He's really not had his shooting boots on tonight, the talisman for Turkey.
Well, he has been a little bit short on game minutes because of injury himself. He hasn't looked like he's been playing injured. He has been trying to light the fuse for Turkey. He hasn't had a lot of supporters, actually.
28 attempts on goal Turkey have had. Australia just 9. But 2 excellent strikes from Nestor Irankunda in the first half. And then Connor Metcalf when Australia were really under the pump with a quarter of an hour to go. What do Turkey have left in the tank? We tick over into the 90th minute of the game. There will be a few minutes to be added on. This is Yunus Akgün on the right. Yet again, everybody behind the ball for Australia. Arda Güler sends it wide. Kenan Yildiz. A goal for Turkey now would make it a nervy finale for Australia. Arda Güler. Alessandro Ceccarti facing him with his hands tucked in behind his back. A cross into the penalty area. Up but not away by Sutar. Jackson Irvine helps it clear, and then hooked forward by Volupale. A little tangle.
I'm not sure.
And the foul goes against Tete Yangi there in the tangle with Saleh Özcan. I'm not sure it was a foul either, Andy.
Well, he ran straight in front of Tete Yangi. What was he expecting him to do? The referee showing great charity there to Turkey.
Here's Yildiz inside the Australian penalty area again on the left-hand side. Little layoff for his captain, who will scoop it into the box, and Demiral heads it harmlessly behind. And they can rack up 30, 40, 50 shots if they want, but it doesn't look as though it's going to be Turkey's evening. And the fourth officials board shows 6 minutes to be added on. That is all that separates Andy Harper, Australia, from a famous first match day win over Turkey.
Getting really close, agonisingly close. Minimum of 6 minutes in the referee's hands from here. And Australia have done such an amazing job here. Some weak moments in possession which have invited Turkey on, but ultimately the Poppadome has been unbreachable. Patrick Beach behind that has been superb, and the goals that Australia have scored to earn them the lead so far, unforgettable.
Yangi is the outlet once again as Australia win the ball just shy of the halfway line. He's got 2 defenders around him, and there wasn't really an awful lot that the big striker could do. There are some glum faces among the Turkish supporter base in the stands, sensing that it's slipping away from them. We're into the 2nd minute of those 6 additional as a minimum, remember. There might be a bit more than that That's in the gift of the referee. Another block, this time by Bayic. Another throw-in for Turkey, taken quickly by Güler. Çalhanoğlu with the switch of play. Wide left is Kenan Yildiz. He's tried his best to spur Turkey into action. He gets the cross in, but that's meat and drink for Cameron Burgess. Out again by this resilient Socceroos defence. And there are some tired bodies out there now on both sides of the equation. Gary beaten in the air, but Suter is in behind him to lash it out into the stands for another throw-in for Turkey.
Yeah, they've been excellent. Jason Gary has been good off the bench, just beaten there. He's got probably the toughest assignment on the field at the moment against Yildiz, who is not looking injured to us. He's looking very, very dangerous.
2 minutes of stoppage time have elapsed. Jackson Irvine fends off the latest cross into the penalty area. Australia sitting deep, protecting this 2-0 lead. And that's going to be a goal kick. Turkey wanted a corner, and they're going to be disappointed. And Maria Demirel has a bit to say. And now the referee will have his version of events, which no doubt will prove to be the winner.
Well, Chirkati was pretty chirpy with the awarding of that free kick, and the ref felt like he had to step in.
We're watching again on the big screen. That big moment in the first half when Nestoria and Kunda opened the scoring, and then Connor Metcalf's beautiful finish angled into the corner. Two really top-class strikes worthy of winning a game at a World Cup finals, Andy. And Australia have stolen the ball. Oh, but Bayic, just as he was about to spring clear, is pulled back by the referee's whistle for a free kick to Turkey.
Yeah, I thought it probably was a free kick, denied Aziz the great opportunity to break away.
Güler's delivery was a little flat once again. And Turkey looked to have run out of inspiration. There's no doubt that they've put plenty of perspiration into this performance. Vincenzo Montella, their coach. And the little aeroplane has been grounded so far this evening. And his team has been ground down by this very resilient Socceroos performance. They have almost played 4 minutes of stoppage time, but a goal here would make it a very nervy finish. Suter sees that one away at the near post.
Hayden O'Neill's starting to struggle with cramp. You can understand it. He's put in some miles today for the Socceroos.
Another cross, another header clear by Suter. All hands on deck for Australia. Lifted into the penalty area. Jason Guerrier, the latest clearing header, and then lashed towards goal by Kenan Yildiz. And another block. And out for a corner. Australia simply will not yield.
The great wall of Suter.
What a performance this has been defensively. The corner taken quickly. Plenty of bodies in the box wearing red. What about the cross? Took a deflection. Another Turkey corner. Güler in a rush to take it. They know that time is of the essence now. The Crescent Stars appearing at their first World Cup since 2002, but looking likely to leave empty-handed from Vancouver. What a night for Australia this has been so far. Another corner seen out at the near post. Back with Çalhanoğlu at the top of the Australian penalty area. Yunus Akgun floats the ball in, and they stole a march on the Australian defence there, but now the flag goes up, and it would have been offside anyway. Harry Suter and the Australian defenders breathe a big sigh of relief, but they've done their jobs to perfection once again, Andy.
Well, Harry Suter's performance as captain today is out of the Mile Jedinek mould. He has been superb. Clearly offside, but that ball came in. The Turkish defenders, Australia had to play on as though they didn't know, and saw away the trouble again. Important now to keep the ball.
How will this rank in terms of Australia's World Cup wins all time, Andy? It's only going to be their 5th ever win at the finals. We think of Serbia, that 2-1 win in 2010, the 3-1 win over Japan, the 1-0 win over Denmark and Tunisia at the last World Cup. What about this one?
Well, I think as an opening game, it's been a bit of a problem for us. I think they've been outstanding, really outstanding.
There are only seconds left. Surely it's too late for Turkey. Arda Güler once again being hassled and harried by Aziz Bayic, holding him at bay. And the full-time whistle blows in Vancouver. It's all over. What a night for the Socceroos, for only the second time in their history. And for the first time since 2006, they win their opening game at a World Cup. 3 priceless points, which gives them a great chance of progress through Group D. Goals from Nestor Irankunda and Connor Metcalf, and a mighty, mighty defensive performance at the back from Messrs Sutar, Burgess and Chakati, along with the supporting cast. Patrick Beach was a surprise selection. He made 2 big saves tonight, but he keeps a clean sheet on his World Cup finals debut. And you have to say, Tony Popovic, you got it bang on tonight. Full-time scoreline at BC Place. Australia 2, Turkey 0.
SEN is your exclusive home on radio for all coverage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, live from North America.